She's just 16 years old, but she's already started her own business. Ricalize Reineck farms fish using aquaculture, the waste from which feeds a hydroponic vegetable enterprise, and it has a double use in times of drought in South Africa. That's right, and she has great success too. What started out with 1,000 fish has now grown into a business that supplies about 6 stores in Ricalize's neighborhood near South Africa's capital, Pretoria. What would you say? A great idea, indeed.
Her passion is farming fish. Ricalize Reineck is 16 and still at school. 4 years ago, she started implementing an aquaponics system on her father's farm in Pretoria, South Africa. It combines conventional aquaculture, like raising fish in tanks, with hydroponics, cultivating plants in water. She started out with 1,000 fish. Now her experiment has grown into a business that supplies fish and greens at the same time.
The system is 2 by 3 meters and it's movable, so you can put it in your backyard or in a rural area. The system can feed about 4 to 6 people on a regular basis. It can make the person self-sustainable with fish and vegetables, so it has high protein and a good value of food.
Alternative systems like this one are especially important as South Africa suffers from one of the most severe droughts in its history. Many farmers have lost crops and animals due to the lack of water.
We're not getting nowhere near the rainfall we should be getting at this time of the year, this sort of season, and it's having a devastating effect on the water table. Our boreholes are drying up. One of our things we're going to be doing this week is actually lowering our borehole, trying to get a little bit more water out of it. We have 2 boreholes that have literally dried up now that we can't even use.
Aquaponics is a reliable alternative, especially in dry times. Ricalize uses what she calls a decoupled system in order to save water. It's a simple way to recycle used water back into the system.
We send all that water to an effluent tank, a 10,000 litre tank. From there it's been filtered through this system. The plants absorb all the nutrients, and then after an 8-hour cycle the water is cleaner than what it was in the fish dams. So then we send this water back to the fish dams. So this is basically a big filter, or in natural ways you can say it's a big wetland.
Another advantage, you can grow anything from cucumbers to tomatoes and lettuce. Ricalize's vision is to roll it out to places where people are poor and water is scarce.
So you add water once into the system, and only once a week you need to add 25 liters of water, and that's that. From there you can have your fish and your vegetables in your backyard, and you can sell it to have an income as well.
In South Africa, aquaponics is still in its infancy. So far, there are more than 190 freshwater and over 30 saltwater aquaculture farms. Officials see a lot of growth potential in aquaponics systems.
We have aquaculture awareness campaigns. We also have programs whereby during the awareness campaigns we actually go and hold the farmers hand by hand to advise them on how to start an aquaponics farm. We give them step-by-step advice.
I do not think that the government has helped us enough, especially for young upcoming entrepreneurs who needs funding, who needs financial advice. I don't think I've got enough help and advice from the government in South Africa.
With or without government support, Ricalize Reineck will continue her business and passion, growing vegetables and farming fish on a big scale.
Thriving Green is a project set up by German students developing a specially tough breed of algae that could soon be used to help feed people in barren and drought-stricken regions. Initial pilot programs are already underway in Kenya's Turkana region. Thriving Green students say cultivating algae isn't all hard work. It's also lots and lots of fun.
Just a few final adjustments, then their algae detector will be ready for a test run. A device allows these students from Regensburg to determine how many microscopic algae are present in a water sample. And not just any algae, but a very specific kind. Spirulina algae are also now being grown in Kenya. Via the internet, the students in southern Germany are monitoring the growth of the algae in a basin they set up in Kenya. That way they can alert their African collaborators to the best time to harvest it. Spirulina tastes like salty salad, but packs a much bigger nutritional punch.
100 grams of spirulina algae have more than 60 grams of protein. That's 6 times as much as eggs. And spirulina also has a lot of essential vitamins that people here are often missing.
Turkana County in northern Kenya is an extremely hot and arid region. It borders on the world's biggest desert lake, but Lake Turkana's water is becoming more and more saline. Salt has accumulated in the dry soil, making it useless for growing crops. People and animals in the region suffer from hunger and malnourishment. In April 2017, the students set up the first basins through their startup Thriving Green. Financing came from crowdfunding, donations, and prize money. The project only uses materials from the region because ultimately the people who live here will have to be able to run the facility and make repairs. The first basin was up and running just 3 weeks after construction began.
I'm so happy the basin is ready, and I'm looking forward when the spirulina now goes in and grow.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Many of the villagers turned up to watch as researchers Alfred Sei and Jens Ekberg seeded the 50-square-meter basin with spirulina cultures. It's filled with salty water from Lake Turkana.
After we got the first basin up and running and saw how quickly and at what kind of scale the biomass started to appear, we were pretty amazed. Seeing algae grow in the lab in a test tube is one thing, but the speed at which the algae reproduced in several thousand liters of water, well, that's a natural wonder.
Thriving Green wants to extend the farm until it can eventually supply spirulina for 400 people. The microalgae reproduces all on its own through cell division, and every part of it can be used. The only input is water. It has to be changed occasionally because evaporation otherwise causes the salinity in the basins to rise. Circulation also mixes up the water-algae mixture, which promotes growth. The spirulina can be harvested every 25 days. Aside from goats, beans, and corn, little thrives in the region around Lake Turkana. Even so, the people here are a little suspicious of the bright green algae at first, but they soon lose their reservations. People weakened by malnourishment can be helped back to strength by the nutrient-rich foodstuff.
Augustin, you like it?
Yeah, I like it very much. Very nice. So tasty.
Thriving Green and the people around Lake Turkana have developed recipes together. When mixed with cornmeal and water, powdered algae makes a delicious flatbread.
Over 500,000 people in Kenya's Turkana region suffer from malnutrition, even more in other East African countries. Fresh water is increasingly scarce in many regions, especially in developing countries. So we think that algae farming has potential.
The spirulina farmers have received requests to set up facilities in Ethiopia and Bolivia as well.